I just want your quick thoughts on a big story
Yeah.
from Pablo Torre finds out and Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. If you guys haven't seen it, I urge you to look it up. Whenever somebody else has kind of a big piece of journalism, I always urge them to go look at it first before coming here for our
Mhm.
thoughts. Because as someone who I've probably never written anything of this size and scope, certainly, but it's one of those things that whenever you have something with a little juice and other people talk about it, you want them to read yours first,
Yep.
right? And so I would urge you to go there first. Mike Florio, if you don't know, is a lawyer, has background, did a great job translating a lot of the words
Mhm.
that we're purposely not supposed to know unless we go to law school. And so good on him for kind of decoding what basically to me amounts to owners getting caught red-handed colluding and not giving
Yep.
players guaranteed contracts.
Yeah. Yeah. So I there are two things I'd want to hit here. Number one, there's definitely the who cares narrative out there, which
You
is
should
not
care.
look, like I think we've all, because of the way the business has gone and what the business is now, like we've all leaned a little bit more into what all of you out there want, right? Like, but if journalism was just, well, hey, what's going to get the most eyeballs, then Taylor Swift would lead the NBC nightly news every night, right? Like that's not what journalism is.
Right.
Journalism is covering the most impactful things, the things that affect people. And this is super impactful if it's not the most entertaining thing. And by the way, I do understand. I have a lot of friends, obviously, like my circle is like a lot of people that are sports fans. I get it. If you drive home at 6 p.m. and you just want to go home and turn on the game and it's your escape and you don't want an economics lesson, I get that. I think we all get that, right? But this
Mm-hmm.
is an important story. The second thing is, like, where does this have an impact on football? And I think the easiest way to explain this, and I'm going to try to keep this as short as I possibly can, Connor, is that fully guaranteed contracts are not mandated in any of the major American sports. So, basketball, baseball, they have fully guaranteed contracts, but they got there through a series of individual negotiations that made them the industry standard. Football has not been able to get there.
Right.
And it is very frustrating for the players that they haven't been able to get there, but they haven't been able to get there. Additionally, American sports, the major American sports, are a little different than what you see overseas, where, the soccer in Europe, like if you don't like the conditions of your team in the Premier League, it is not just other Premier League teams you have the option to go to. You can go to La Liga in Spain. You can go to the Bundesliga in Germany. You can go and play somewhere else. And I think that the German soccer teams aren't working with the British soccer teams. The French soccer teams aren't working with the Spanish soccer teams to
And
try to.
nobody's working with like the Saudi government to give like Cristiano Ronaldo like $6 billion
Right,
dollars to just be like, yeah,
right,
whatever, come on. Yeah.
right. So what you have in America as a result is a working monopoly, right? It's considered anti-capitalist behavior to have a monopoly. What you see is a working monopoly with the American sports league. So they have all sorts of antitrust exemptions and everything else. And I'll leave the legalese on that because I'll probably screw up some terms here to Florio. But basically, what that means is if the 32 teams are operating as one, they're going to be able to price fix. They're going to be able to put ceilings on what players can get. They're going to be able to conspire ways to make sure that you, the fan, aren't getting the most for your dollar, too. So the idea is for all of these teams to be competitive with one another. Now, it's a little more natural with the fans because they're competing with, other sports, teams in other sports in their local markets. And so there's that end of it. But with the players in particular, it's really important that the 32 teams aren't working together because competition for players is what drives the market. And again, if there's not competition for players, then it's going to be really hard to get to a point where organically you're going to have fully guaranteed contracts. Back in 2022, Deshaun Watson's deal was groundbreaking for these reasons, right? Because it was a 5-year fully guaranteed deal. And I think if you're a player, you look at that and said, yes, that's what we need right there. That's exactly it. Like now there's a new standard. And what was important after that is, okay, like what do the next set of contracts look like? And the next young quarterback to get a contract that offseason was Kyler Murray. And there were quarterbacks the offseason after that that were becoming eligible for the first time, and Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jordan Love. So Watson does his deal. Then Murray does a deal that's a more conventional quarterback deal. And that deal, which was done, I think, like right around the start of training camp in July, came after this owners meetings where they had talked about, hey, we can't keep going forward with fully guaranteed contracts with what the Browns did for Watson, so we need to put an end to it. They didn't say it in so many words, but that's the implication. So then Kyler Murray doesn't get a fully guaranteed contract. And an owner from another team, from the Chargers, Dean Spanos, texts the owner from the
Known as
Cardinals.
Dino in the
Yeah.
text exchange, by the way. Dino Spanos.
Dino texts Michael Bidwell. And in that text exchange, Dino congratulates Michael for the deal he did with Kyler Murray and says he's going to help all of us. And sure enough, Justin Herbert did a more conventional quarterback deal as well the next year. So essentially, what they're talking about is stemming the tide of the Watson deal, which effectively got accomplished. And it affects all players, because if this is going to start anywhere, right? Like if you are going to have a sea change where fully guaranteed contracts are going to become the norm, then it has to start with the quarterbacks. So with this flaming out the quarterbacks as quickly as it did, it affects all players, because that trickle down isn't going to come.
I think, to me, and my kind of final thoughts on this, the hero in this is Lamar, because Lamar is seen kind of around the league as sort of unknowable, and sort of a little bit reclusive. And I think that, I think that's a bit of a misnomer. I think, the people who do get to know him are always kind of blown away by him. But he fought for a fully guaranteed contract. And in that document, there are texts from him to Eric DaCosta saying, I am seeking in all caps, fully guaranteed contract. And so Lamar actually went for it. And obviously the villain to me a little bit is JC Treader, who if you go and read this, I mean, the just kind of the machinations of how he fell out of power, came back into power after a secret election of Lloyd Howell as the new NFLPA director. The whole thing, and then obviously got caught bad mouthing Russell Wilson and blaming the lack of fully guaranteed contracts on Russell Wilson. So I think that there's definitely some interesting dynamics, certainly things that all these sides need to clean up. But I will ask you this just very quickly before we get into our next thing. So let's say the Deshaun Watson deal was done. And then let's say, just by matter of happenstance, Mahomes and Burrow were right there and both needed to be extended. And let's say that neither of them played for the franchises that they're playing for. Okay, so let's say Burrow played for the Jaguars and Mahomes played for, what's a team that doesn't have a reputation for playing hardball contractually, really? I mean, let's say Mahomes played for the Falcons. Okay. And both of these teams need these players. Do you think that fully guaranteed quarterback contracts become the norm, if that's how the dominoes were set up?
I think it's possible. Yeah. Because I mean, once you get like 2 or 3 or 4 of them, it becomes hard for an agent or a player to accept like something that's less than that, right? So then there's the domino effects and momentum builds. In this case, like the momentum was stemmed right away. And like the Kyler deal was one of the deals that absolutely, it just stopped any momentum that they were going to have. And to be fair to these guys, I mean, it's hard to walk away from life-changing generational wealth, and that's how the owners have gotten around it. It's like, well, we'll give you an extra $5 million a year if you're willing to take a contract that's not fully guaranteed. What are you going to say to that? You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's driven the quarterback market to the degree it's been driven, right? Is that if you're worried about the precedent that you're setting for other players and you're an owner, you're probably going to say, I'm willing to go the extra mile on the raw money. And then you say to the player, well, you're going to be here. You know what I mean? With a quarterback, you can actually say that you're going to be here. Like, I just don't want to because the cockamamie funding rule. I just don't want to like have to put the money in escrow, which that's a whole nother story for another day. The
Right.
player in a lot of cases is going to be willing to accept that because he wants that generational wealth, which again, like I can't, it's hard to fault a guy for that. To me, it's like, all right, so the football part of this, the best way to explain it is look at the situation the Browns are in versus the situation the Broncos are in.
Yeah.
The Broncos are almost out of the woods on Russell Wilson.
True.
The Browns have, I mean, almost $200 million in cap dollars still to deal with and $92 million in fully guaranteed cash. It was a crippling deal for their franchise. And both those guys traded in the same offseason. Neither one of them worked out, right? Do you think Deshaun Watson's a Brown right now if he has Russell Wilson's contract?
No.
Right. Right. So like that's the thing is like it's Russell Wilson. It's like the Brown as crazy as that Broncos deal was for Russell Wilson, they still had the trap doors that allowed them to get out where the Browns don't have those trap doors.
Right. One more hypothetical for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say that because, Lamar, again, has a lot of leverage coming up on this next deal. He can be tagged at plus 144% or whatever it is, of his current contract. He wanted a fully guaranteed contract. Let's just say he gets it or gets something very close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he could have a big year. I mean, this could be the Ravens Super Bowl year, right? At least that's what a lot of people are saying. That's the way that Baltimore is building this. Let's say he gets it. Then, by then, you're going to have Jaden Daniels coming up. And let's just say that Jaden Daniels keeps doing what he's doing. Offensive Player of the Year caliber. Is that the next group that you think could kind of stick their heels in? Because if you're Jaden Daniels, you probably have a little bit of leverage. This franchise hasn't had a franchise quarterback since Doug Williams,
Yeah. I mean, like what I'll say is like that it's really hard because you have to be willing to like play it out, right? Like, so, all right, like, well, if you can demand a fully guaranteed contract, play out year 4, play out year 5, play out a franchise tag. And when you're staring, I mean, what's it going to be? $60-70 million per year in the face. Are you willing to walk away from that and take on all the injury risk that comes with an NFL season, knowing they can tag you till you're blue in the face? They can tag you through your 7th year. That's a hard spot to be in. So like that part of it, I think is going to make it really hard. But if they, I think just to answer your question, one deal isn't going to do it. I think it takes like 3 or 4 in a row, so that's why I think the Watson deal put pressure on a lot of other people. And obviously the teams wound up winning in that situation, as a certain text exchange illustrated.
Way to go, Dino. That's what I'm going to say. Anytime I rig a system or something like that for my own favor, I'm going to say, way to go, Dino.